Hey, what is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to GT7. Now I'm going to be doing my final verdict on update 1.27 for Gran Turismo 7. I've pretty much covered really everything I can with this update at this point, and I feel like it's now time that I've had a few days kind of playing around with it and testing everything out, that I kind of give my overall opinion on this update. So 1.27 is the final update for GT7 for 2022 in what I kind of want to call Polyphony's catch-up year. There was a lot of missing features in this game at launch, and I feel like towards the kind of end of 2022, they're finally starting to gain a bit of momentum and sort of catch up where this game should have really have been in the first place. But the last update we got was obviously 1.26, which was kind of the one that really shook everything up. It was a big update with a lot in it, and it brought a lot of those changes along with it, especially off the back of, in my opinion, quite a few disappointing updates. So what was I really expecting with 1.27? Well, to be honest, not too much. I expected it to be more of a, I guess, similar update to what we was having previously, with maybe a few events and some decent cars and such. But to my pleasant surprise, we got 5 cars revealed, and in all honesty, this is definitely not only the main focus of the update when kind of looking at everything, but it's kind of also the main highlight. This is probably the best 5-car selection I've probably seen in a racing game for the longest time, even outside of Gran Turismo. And overall, it is the best selection of cars in a single update for GT7 at this point. I think it's going to be very difficult to top just the standard of cars that we got with this update. So with them being kind of the main highlight of 127, let's talk about them. The one you're seeing on screen now is the Ferrari VGT. It was awarded to kind of early access for people that took part in the viewers campaign in 1.26, and it does come to the brand dealer for those that did not on the 23rd of December. Overall, it's a VGT, so a lot of people are going to jump on the hate train straight away with this thing and say, oh yeah, it's too far out in the future and stuff, it's not realistic, we don't want VGTs. But in all honesty, this is one of the better VGTs I think I've really ever driven in Gran Turismo 7. I went into it with kind of, I guess, medium expectations. I wanted it to be good because it's a Ferrari, but then at the same time it's a VGT, and with the last few we've had mainly being the Porsche Spider, was very, very disappointing, alongside the likes of the Suzuki VGT just being, well, terrible, as well as its Group 3 counterpart, never really being a fan of any of those. I wasn't expecting too much. I was expecting to kind of feel like a bit like, meh, okay, it's cool, it's a Ferrari, it's cool that Ferrari's got their VGT, but I wasn't kind of overly, hyped about this. However, myself and obviously my subscribers did an open lobby last night, and we did use it mainly for a VGT event, and well, I think we was all pleasantly surprised. It's a very, very good car, very well balanced, with only a single downside of kind of, it's a bit of a struggle to fill its kind of hybrid and boost up under braking and stuff. It runs out very quick, and then kind of just, once it's empty, it's difficult to get it back up. But overall, this is a very, very good VGT car, one of my instant favourites, cannot complain about it. Then we also had probably one of the most perfectly balanced cars I think I've ever driven in GT7, that being the Alfa Romeo GT Am. Absolutely incredible machine, one of my instant favourites, along with the likes of the Cayman GT4 when that first came post-launch. Absolutely incredibly balanced, really usable, very, very good addition to the game. Massively pleased with that. We also had the C8, which finally kind of ends the beg for wanting the C8 in the game, and does finally update the Corvette roster. So yeah, very, very good car overall, cannot complain about it. It's fun to drive. It's not necessarily one of my favorites, but overall it's nice to see a more modern car come to the game that kind of updates the cars to where it should be, if you know what I mean, kind of in terms of their generations. The Bugatti Chiron, and well, honestly, I feel like this was an important one because the Bugattis just felt very outdated outside of the kind of VGT cars and such. They were just kind of, we had the Veyron, and that's kind of it, and the Veyron just wasn't really that good of a car. Whilst it's okay in some certain trims to grind with, it's just really not overall that great, to be honest, or that exciting. So the Chiron really does again update the Bugattis and kind of brings them in line with more of their modern Bugattis that have been kind of released honest, brilliant car, absolutely incredible. Honestly, I tried it in my subscriber lobby at Le Mans, and that thing is hitting 280 mile an hour, no problem. It is insanely quick when it's fully upgraded and such. Really enjoyable car, bit of a brick in its standard form, but once you kind of get the upgrades on it and you start seeing the true potential in that thing, it's honestly incredible for kind of like a hypercar and such. And finally, the legendary Toyota Celica ST205 rally car. Well, it's a legend, innit? It comes in its Castro livery. It's been in Gran Turismo games in the past. Absolutely brilliant to see it. Really enjoyable. A bit underpowered, but you know, you're not really using it for that. You're using it for kind of the status that car has. Lovely car, great to drive. Cannot complain. Nice to see a rally car as well. So yes, with this update, the cars are definitely the stars of the show. They are very, very good, brilliant selection, but in all honesty, it's quite, you know, quite a good thing that they kind of outshine the rest of this update. So alongside it, we got 3 events. And not only are they a bit of a glitchy mess, the fact that it won't actually count you as doing them, they're just not very good events in my honest opinion. I can't really recommend going and really even doing them if you don't really feel like it. I don't feel like you have to go out the way and do them. So not only do they not count currently, and you're probably best saving them, I think the most disappointing thing for me in terms of the events is not only was there only 3 of them, the fact that they're kind of all set on some of the most sought after and legendary tracks in GT7, 2 of which were massively lacking in events, that mainly being Monza and Mount Panorama or Bathurst, whatever you want to call it. And yeah, we kind of get, you know, typical GT7 sprint style races where it's just kind of a bunch of laps, you're limited to certain cars. It just felt very kind of, like I said, limited. There's no other way to really explain it. It was very limited, very held back. I feel like it's just kind of wasted potential. They could have done a lot more with those events, especially with us kind of only having 3 of them. There was definitely kind of a lot of room for improvement with the events. Again, like I said, they're bugged. So this is probably, in terms of events being released post-launch, probably the messiest of the bunch, just because they just don't seem to have been really up to the quality of some of the other events that we've had of recent, and as well just kind of the weirdness of them being bugged and stuff at launch was just, you know, very kind of lackluster, to be quite honest. I know it's not a major thing, but it still kind of just takes away when you feel like you know you've done them a couple of times and it's still not counted. Hopefully that's something they can get around to doing in a hot fix. Yeah, it's just a really kind of weird thing. Now on to Scapes. Obviously, it's kind of, you know, some people love them, some people hate them. Personally, I enjoy them, but again, you look, we got Norway this time around. There's nothing really too special there. Don't get me wrong, they're really nice looking images, but I don't really see people doing too much in terms of using them as, you know, maybe thumbnails or kind of, you know, sort of background images and such. I just, yeah, they're not too great, to be honest. They're pretty kind of samey if you've, you know, seen one kind of mountain range and such, or, you know, kind of those awesome little kind of back roads and bridges and such, or images near water and stuff. If you've used them in Scapes, I don't think it's really going to stand out too much. Now, another thing to note, and I don't know if it's just me, but I have seen other people kind of mention it, is there is a possible, you know, physics change somewhere. I don't know quite what they've done, but the physics seem to have just changed a little bit, slightly since the last update. I'm not quite sure. There was nothing really mentioned, but, you know, certain cars are definitely feeling a little bit different to what they did. So, yeah, I've heard other people have said it as well. So it's not just me that's kind of maybe thinking that, but again, kind of just weird, but there was nothing kind of noted. So, you know, overall that is pretty much everything from update 1.27. Like I said, the cars are the kind of main star of the show. There's not really too much else to talk about in terms of depth to this update. In all honesty, I think because the cars are so good, it's kind of in a way sort of overshadowed just how poor some of the rest of the things are. There was kind of little things that I noticed in, you know, kind of silly little translation errors in cafes and stuff. I mean, most people won't really pay any attention to those or really talk to the floating head icons like we have, but if you do, there's just some kind of like really lazy missed text and kind of misspelled text, and like I said, with the events being bugged, it's just really kind of not up to the standard, to be honest. I think they've kind of I guess feels like they've kind of rushed the update out, in all honesty. Again, it was a much shorter time frame from like 126 to 127, 126 being a massive update, this being kind of a lot smaller. In all honesty, does it kind of overall affect the experience in the game? Not really. You know, I think in terms of the 5 cars we've got, they're all very different, all very usable. I think a lot of people are going to be using these at least for the next month, because, you know, they are very, very high quality. They very kind of differ from each other. They've all got strengths, weaknesses. You could probably get some very, very impressive builds with them. So I do see the cars kind of giving the rest of it a bit of a free pass. But when you kind of look into it a bit deeper, it's just really not up to the standard of the usual updates. And I don't mean that content wise, I mean that kind of there's just kind of weird little bugs and, like I said, little translation errors. So it's little things like that kind of, you know, pull me out the experience and really just kind of frustrate me, and it's just me being picky. But yeah, overall a decent update. The cars are fantastic, and it's a very good job they weren't poor, as I think a lot of people would have had a much different kind of look on this update and felt like it was a really, really not that good update. So there you have it. That's my final thoughts on update 1.27, the last update of GT7 for 2022. There is a possibility we may get a hot fix or something like that, just to fix those kind of little event issues and stuff. But again, that's just a possibility. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't, so who really knows? We haven't actually had one of those in a while, but this will probably be, I'm going to assume anyway, the last proper content update in terms of 2022. And like I said, it just kind of felt like a catch-up year. Now what I'm actually going to do in terms of the update is actually go through all of them and their content and kind of just, you know, I guess see where Gran Turismo's evolved from since launch. That'll probably be just, I guess, after the Christmas period and just before New Year. So I'm going to kind of do a few roundups on, you know, some of the cars, like my favorite post-launch cars, my favorite post-launch events, and then just kind of seeing how Gran Turismo 7's evolved, and just to see where it's at the end of 2022 going into 2023. So thank you so much for joining me as I've been covering these updates over the last, you know, God knows how many months at this point. It's been an absolute awesome ride. I've enjoyed every moment of spending this time with you guys, and, you know, getting to know some of you in the comments and such has been fantastic. So thank you so much. You have a great time, and I'll see you all later on. Take care, guys. Peace.